sin? What is it? Why do religions talk so much about this? Have you ever felt like you were carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones you didn't even pick up yourself? Stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is your faith a source of peace or a source of constant nagging guilt? If you are tired of feeling like every step you take is a potential sin, stay with me. Because today we are going to unpack that bag and rediscover what it truly means to be in sync with the divine. Religion, for many, has become a labyrinth of don'ts. Don't wear this. Don't go there. Don't think that. Don't miss this specific ceremony at this specific time. We grow up under a cloud of judgment, often wondering if God is a loving creator or a cosmic accountant with a clipboard, marking down every time we slept in on a Sunday or wore a pair of shorts on a hot afternoon. It is an exhausting way to live. It turns the most beautiful aspect of human existence, our connection to the infinite, into a series of chores and checkboxes. Why is it that religions, generally speaking, instill so much guilt in us? Why is the concept of sin applied to the most mundane aspects of our lives? We are told that dating is a minefield, that our clothing is a statement of our morality, and that missing a physical gathering in a building made of stone is a betrayal of the spirit. But when we step back and look at the vastness of the universe, the complexity of the human heart, and the overwhelming beauty of nature, does it really make sense that the Creator of all things is preoccupied with the length of our sleeves? We must look deeper into the architecture of this guilt. It is not just an emotional inconvenience. It is a poison that seeps into every fiber of our being. When we live in a state of perpetual original sin or constant inadequacy, we are not just failing a religious test. We are damaging our very biology. The mind and the body are not separate entities. They are a singular, vibrating field of energy. What happens in the spirit eventually writes itself upon the flesh. Consider the physical manifestation of chronic guilt. When you feel wrong or sinful for simply existing, your body enters a state of constant stress. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish between a physical predator and the psychological predator of religious shame. It pumps cortisol and adrenaline into your bloodstream day after day. Over time, this weight of the soul manifests as physical ailments. It shows up in the tension of your shoulders, the persistent ache in your lower back, and the digestive issues that no doctor seems to be able to cure. We call these psychosomatic illnesses, but they are very real. They are the body's way of screaming that the spirit is being crushed. How many people suffer from autoimmune disorders, chronic fatigue, or heart conditions because their inner environment is one of judgment rather than grace? When we believe that God is angry with us, or that we are inherently broken because we didn't follow a specific ritual, we create an internal climate of hostility. Your cells cannot thrive in an environment of fear. To heal the body, we must first liberate the mind from the shackles of unnecessary guilt. The soul was meant to soar, not to be anchored by the should-haves and must-dos of human institutions. Throughout history, institutions have found that guilt is a powerful tool for maintaining order and ensuring loyalty. If you can make someone feel that their very worth is tied to their obedience to specific rules, you create a tether that is very hard to break. It is a form of psychological containment. We are told these rules are for our protection, and to an extent, rules are necessary. We live in an organized society, and without guidelines for behavior and mutual respect, we would fall into chaos. But there is a massive difference between social rules that facilitate coexistence and spiritual chains that stifle the soul. The path of restriction does not lead to a path of light. It leads to a path of resentment and performative piety. Think about the person sitting in a pew every Sunday, checking their watch, thinking about what they'll have for lunch and feeling absolutely nothing while the preacher speaks. Their heart is cold, but their attendance is perfect. Is that person more holy than the one sitting on a park bench at dawn, tears in their eyes, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the life they've been given? Who is truly in conversation with God? God is not looking for actors. He is not interested in how well we can follow a script or how perfectly we can dress the part. What he expects from us is authenticity. He wants us to do our best, to give our best, and to act out of love rather than fear. When you give to charity because you feel a genuine pull to help another human being, that is a spiritual act. When you give because you're afraid of being judged if you don't, or because you think it buys you points in heaven, it's just a transaction. It lacks the fragrance of true faith. We need to understand that the sin often isn't the act itself, but the disconnection from our own divine nature. When we are told that wearing certain clothes or missing a mass is a grave offense, we are being taught to look for God outside of ourselves. We are being taught that the divine is a distant judge rather than a present companion. But true spirituality is found in the moments of spontaneous prayer, the thank you whisper when you see a sunset, the quiet plea for strength when you're overwhelmed, the silent reflection in the middle of a busy workday. These moments of withdrawal and attunement are far more powerful than any forced ritual. God hears your voice regardless of where you are standing. He knows your heart better than any religious leader ever could. We need to learn to relax into our faith. We need to trust that we are loved unconditionally, not based on our performance. Imagine a father watching his child learn to walk. Does he get angry when the child stumbles? Does he call it a sin when the child falls down? Of course not. He encourages them. He loves them for the effort. Why would we think the source of all love is less compassionate than a human parent? The burden of guilt affects the mind by creating a static that prevents us from hearing our own intuition. When you are constantly scanning your behavior for flaws, you lose the ability to trust yourself. You become dependent on external authorities to tell you if you are okay. This dependency is the death of spiritual maturity. A mature spirit knows that it is accountable to love, not to a list of prohibitions. We must strive for lightness. Life is already heavy enough with its challenges, losses, and uncertainties. Our spiritual life should be the place where we lay that burden down, not where we add more weight. We are called to be kind, to be present, and to recognize the divine spark in everyone we meet. That is the core. Everything else, the dogmas, the dress codes, the rigid schedules, is often just noise that drowns out the quiet whisper of the Spirit. If you are feeling sick, if you are feeling tired, if you are feeling like you can never do enough to please the divine, I want you to stop. Look at the flowers in the field. They don't toil, they don't attend services, they don't worry about their appearance, yet they are clothed in glory. You are far more precious than they are. Your mistakes are just lessons in the school of life. They are not stains that need to be washed away with the tears of shame. Let go of the idea that you are failing because you don't fit into a specific religious mold. Your relationship with the divine is yours alone. It is a private, beautiful, and ongoing dialogue that doesn't require a middleman or a handbook of prohibitions. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Seek moments of silence where you can truly listen. When you heal the spirit from guilt, you give your body permission to heal as well. You allow your cells to vibrate at the frequency of peace rather than the frequency of panic. Remember that you are a child of the universe, and you have a right to be here just as you are. Your worth is inherent. It is not something you have to earn through suffering or self-suppression. When you act from a place of connection, you find that doing the right thing isn't a chore. It becomes a natural extension of who you are. You don't need to be policed into being a good person when you are in tune with the love that created you. Walk through this world with your head held high, knowing that the light within you is brighter than any shadow of guilt. Embrace the freedom to pray in your own way, to love without fear, and to live a life that reflects the beauty of your soul. You are not a collection of sins. You are a magnificent work in progress. May you find the peace that surpasses all understanding, the joy that comes from true liberation, and the warmth of a connection that never asks you to be anything other than your most honest self. You are seen, you are heard, and you are loved beyond measure. If you love this story and want to hear more like it, please hit that subscribe button. It truly means the world to us and helps us grow. And hey, while you're at it, let's aim for 50 likes on this video. Help us smash that goal.